Had been 5 Christmases. 5 years since I'd seen snow falling on my childhood street, since I'd heard my mom hum along to Nat King Cole while burning the edges of sugar cookies in the oven. Since I'd let myself feel like I belonged anywhere. I'd spent the last few holidays either overseas or curled up in a cold, rented room pretending like it didn't matter. Telling myself I was fine. That I was stronger that way. But this year was different. This year I was going home. I booked the ticket in September. Direct from Seattle to Minneapolis. First time I'd booked a round trip in years. The plan was to surprise them. I had it all mapped out. Show up at the front door with a duffel bag in one hand and a red scarf in the other. Like some Hallmark scene, only real. Only earned. I imagined Dad opening the door, eyes wide. Stunned into silence before pulling me into one of those rare, stoic hugs where he pats your back like he's trying to apologize without words. Mom would probably cry, mascara everywhere, and drag me into the kitchen immediately like I hadn't just traveled thousands of miles. I even pictured my little brother James, though we hadn't spoken in 2 years, rolling his eyes and calling me Captain America in that sarcastic way of his. I let myself believe in that version of home. I needed to. The army gave me structure, purpose, and 1,000 ways to stay busy. But no amount of order could patch up what had been quietly unraveling between me and the people I left behind. Still, Christmas felt like a reset. The lights, the snow, the second chances that only seem believable when there's frost on the window and old songs playing in the background. So I packed everything carefully. Brought gifts I'd collected from every country I'd been stationed in. Wore my dress blues. Not because I was trying to prove anything, but because I wanted them to see what I'd made of myself. That maybe I was someone they could be proud of again. I even practiced the moment I'd ring the doorbell. Silly, I know. But I wanted to get it right. The smile. Timing. The words. I'm home. It was going to be perfect. Or at least that's what I told myself. 3 days before Christmas. That's when everything started to unravel. I was sitting in the airport Starbucks, staring out the window like some movie extra, trying to convince myself that snow would start falling in Seattle. Didn't. The coffee was burnt, my phone was at 14%, and I was scrolling through my camera roll, stopping on an old photo of our living room lit by Christmas lights. Dad had strung them up crooked, like always, and Mom's handmade stockings were hanging slightly off-center from the mantel. That's when my phone buzzed. Text. From Dad. Christiana, don't come home. It's not safe. That was it. No punctuation. No context. Just those 8 words. First I laughed. Like actually laughed out loud. I thought, what kind of dad joke is this? Maybe he was trying to tease me, lighten the mood. But something about it felt wrong. Dad isn't the texting type. Calls. Leaves awkward voicemails. Uses speakerphone in public and always forgets to hang up. This message, it was too brief. Too precise. Like someone was watching him type it. I stared at the screen, waiting for a follow-up. Nothing. I texted back instantly. What do you mean? Is everything okay? Dad? Are you serious right now? 3 dots blinked for a second, then vanished. Called him. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same result. By the 3rd call, the panic had crawled into my throat. I opened the family group chat. Dead silent for a week, except for a thumbs-up James sent to Mom's photo of a tree she decorated alone. I texted there too. Has anyone talked to Dad? What's going on? No reply. Not even read receipts. Called Mom. She didn't answer. Called James. Went straight to voicemail. I even tried my aunt in Wisconsin, someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. No luck. It was like my family had collectively dropped off the grid, right when I was finally coming back. I told myself maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe something small had gone wrong. A burst pipe, a power outage, a freak snowstorm. But my gut said different. And I trust my gut. It kept me alive in places where silence meant sniper fire and coded words meant, get out now. This wasn't nothing. This was a warning. I sat there for over an hour trying to make sense of it. My flight was still booked. My bags were packed. But now there was this ghost of a sentence clinging to everything. It's not safe. What wasn't safe? My hometown. My house. My family. And what the hell was my father trying to protect me from? I didn't cancel the flight. I told myself I just needed a little time to figure things out before I boarded. Buy myself a few hours to think. But really I wasn't thinking. I was watching. Scrolling. Digging. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. When your father, stoic, unshakable, ex-Marine turned hardware store owner, texts you that it's not safe to come home for Christmas, your brain doesn't go to snowstorm. Goes to sirens. Blood. Secrets buried under years of silence. And trust me, we had those. My family wasn't dysfunctional in the way people love to meme about. We weren't screaming at each other over dinner or posting passive-aggressive Bible quotes on Facebook. We were worse. We were quiet. We let things rot in the dark behind closed doors until we forgot what they smelled like. I remember my mom once saying, "Silence is just peace when you don't want to fight anymore." But it wasn't peace. It was retreat. Cold War. I started calling around. Not family. No one was answering anyway but people from town. Old friends. Teachers. I messaged my high school best friend, Kelsey, who still lived in Eden Prairie. She responded an hour later with a vague, "Haven't seen your folks in weeks, are they okay?" When I asked if anything strange was going on in town, she ghosted me. Just disappeared from the conversation like I'd asked her to testify against someone. Red flag. Huge. I even pulled up the local newspaper, the Eden Prairie Gazette. The most dramatic thing they'd posted in the last 48 hours was a notice about a disruption at the Lutheran Church's annual Christmas pageant. No details. Just disruption. As if something had happened that they couldn't print. I should have stopped there. Should have said, "Fine, they don't want me home, I'll stay away." But that message kept looping in my head. It's not safe. Not, don't come. Not, we're busy. Not safe. Sounded like something you say when there's a threat. Something you text quickly, maybe under pressure. Maybe under surveillance. And that's when I realized something else. He didn't sign it. My dad always signs his texts. Like always. Love, Dad. Or even just, Dad. This time. Nothing. No sign-off. Like he was trying to say something without saying it. Like someone else might read it. That's when I called the VA hospital. Not for help but for records. I knew it was a long shot, but I asked if they'd had any recent appointments for my father. They hadn't. In fact, he'd missed 2 scheduled follow-ups, something he never did. He was ex-military. Discipline was built into his blood. Missing appointments. Never. Then I remembered something buried deep. A voicemail my mom left me months ago. I hadn't listened to it at the time. Thought it was just her checking in or reminding me about my cousin's baby shower or something equally Midwestern and avoidant. But I went back and played it. Her voice was quiet. Rushed. "Hey, sweetie. Just wanted to let you know everything's okay. Just some weirdness with your dad lately. Probably nothing, but if you do come home for the holidays, just text me first, alright? Don't tell your dad. Love you." That message was from September. She never mentioned it again. I sat in my apartment that night with the blinds drawn and all the lights off, holding my phone like it was a grenade. I wanted to believe this was just family weirdness. That it would all unravel into something stupid and human and forgivable. But something felt off. Like the air was too still. Like the closer I got to home, the less I recognized it. I started piecing things together like a soldier would. Like an intelligence analyst. What were the facts? 1. Dad sends a cryptic, alarming message with no signature. 2. He vanishes, voicemail only. 3. Mom and James are silent. 4. Local friends avoid questions. 5. That old voicemail. Mom warning me not to tell Dad if I come home. 6. No medical follow-ups, no town events, no visible explanation. And then something hit me like a hammer. What if the danger wasn't to them? What if the danger was them? What if something had already happened? What if whoever I thought I was going home to didn't exist anymore? Felt sick. My mouth was dry, my heart was racing. This wasn't a reunion anymore. This was reconnaissance. The soldier in me wanted to back away, assess from a distance, stay safe. But the daughter in me, she needed to know. She needed to see. Because if I didn't go now, if I didn't confront whatever this was head on, I knew I'd regret it for the rest of my life. I booked an earlier flight. They say going home is supposed to feel like muscle memory. But what if all your memories have scar tissue? When I sat on that plane, wedged between a sleeping college kid and a woman whispering prayers into her coffee, I started to realize something. This wasn't just a flight back to Minneapolis. This was a return to the exact version of myself I'd been running from since the day I enlisted. People think I joined the military to serve, to make a difference, to see the world. That's the PR version. The truth is messier. I joined because I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. Because every Christmas after Mom's little accident was quieter. Because Dad stopped making eye contact. Because my brother stopped trusting me. Because I stopped trusting myself. The last real conversation I had with James was a fight. He just turned 17 and he was spiraling. Partying, skipping school, mouthing off to Dad in ways that would have gotten me grounded for months. And I played the role of the perfect daughter, the overachiever with medals and a clean record, and I judged him for crumbling under pressure I knew exactly how to carry. I told him to grow up, to stop being selfish. He told me, "You left. You always leave." I didn't argue, because he wasn't wrong. When I signed the papers and left for boot camp, I told myself I was finally in control. That maybe if I made something of myself, they'd forgive me for abandoning the mess I didn't know how to fix. But medals don't erase absence. Uniforms don't soften silence. And time doesn't heal what you refuse to look at. So when my father's message hit me like a grenade, I wasn't just scared of what it meant. I was scared it might have been my fault. That something had been festering all these years, and by staying gone, I'd let it happen. That maybe if I'd called more, visited once, reached out when Mom's voice started sounding thinner each year, maybe I'd know what not safe meant. The worst part. A small part of me, ashamed and unspoken, wondered if I deserved it. Maybe this was karma. Maybe this was what I got for ghosting my own family and pretending the distance made me immune to their collapse. I thought about my dad. How he used to fall asleep in his recliner every Christmas Eve, half a beer in one hand, Miracle on 34th Street, humming on the TV. I thought about the year Mom had that fall and how we all lied through our teeth to avoid saying, prescription pills. I thought about James, sitting alone in his room that same year while I packed my bags for deployment, telling myself I was helping him by leaving. Maybe none of them were okay. Maybe I wasn't either. That night in the hotel, 2 towns away from my childhood home, I stared at the ceiling and felt the weight of every conversation I never had. I replayed their faces over and over, frozen in time like a Christmas card from a year I never sent. I kept asking myself, what if they need me now more than they ever did before? What if I'm the only one who can walk through that front door and see what's really going on? Or worse, what if I'm already too late? By morning I knew what I had to do. Not as a soldier, not even as a daughter, but as a woman who needed answers and maybe, if I was lucky, forgiveness. Checked out early, threw my duffel over my shoulder, turned off my phone, and I drove straight toward the house I thought I might never see again. The street was too quiet. You don't notice how alive your neighborhood is until it's not. The familiar crackle of tires on ice. The hum of lawn blowers clearing snow. The occasional bark from the Mitchells' overfed golden retriever. But that morning, Christmas Eve, the air on Wildflower Lane felt like glass. Unmoved. Waiting to shatter. Parked 2 houses down. I don't know why. Instinct maybe. Or fear. Like pulling into the driveway would tip someone off. Or maybe I just needed a few more steps to figure out how I was going to breathe when I saw that door. The house looked the same at first. The red shutters were still crooked. The front porch light was still flickering from the bad wiring Dad refused to fix. The giant inflatable snowman James used to mock every year was still listing slightly to the left like it had had one too many. But there was no wreath on the door. No lights in the windows. No sound. No music. No movement. The driveway was empty. I walked slowly, boots crunching on the ice-coated sidewalk. My hands were shaking inside my coat pockets, not from the cold, but from the memory of what this moment should have been. Every year as a kid, I'd race down this path, dragging sleds and groceries and tangled strings of lights. The front door was always open by the time I reached the steps. Mom waving from the window. Dad yelling, "Wipe your boots." James launching snowballs and blaming the neighbor's kids. This time, I had to ring the bell. I stood there for a second, hand hovering over the button, wondering if it was even connected. Wondering if something was watching me from behind those closed blinds. Pressed it. Once. Then again. Nothing. I knocked. Harder than I meant to. Still nothing. I reached for the handle. Turned. The door was unlocked. Froze. Every part of me went rigid. In the military you learn quickly. Unlocked doors in places that should be locked mean one of two things. Someone's home, or someone left in a hurry. "Mom!" I called out, stepping into the entryway. My voice echoed like it didn't belong here. "Dad!" The air smelled wrong. Not like food or pine or candle wax. Not like Christmas. It smelled still. Like dust and unopened windows. The living room was untouched. No tree. No stockings. No fire in the fireplace. There were no shoes by the door. No jackets hanging. No evidence that anyone had been in the house for days. I walked deeper in, heart pounding like I was clearing a building in Kandahar. Each step felt heavier. Every silence felt intentional. Called again. Louder this time. "James." "Anyone." Nothing. Then I saw it. On the kitchen table. A manila envelope. My name on it in my father's handwriting. Christiana. I stared at it like it might explode. My hand hovered over it for what felt like minutes. I didn't want to open it. I wanted anyone, to come down the stairs and say this was all some weird elaborate joke, that they were just out grabbing eggnog and everything was fine. But I knew better. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single-page letter typed. Uncharacteristic for Dad. But then again, nothing was in character anymore. "Christiana. If you're reading this, it means you came anyway. Hoped you wouldn't. Not because we don't love you, but because I don't want you caught in what's coming. There are things I never told you. Things I thought I could protect you from if I just stayed quiet. But the silence is what hurt you most. I see that now. Your mother tried to tell me. James begged me to. But I was proud. And scared. And too used to burying everything under the rug. I made mistakes. Some that can't be undone. I thought if I distanced myself, if I pushed you away, maybe I could shield you from the fallout. But the truth is, it's already at our doorstep. You were always the strong one. Not because you left, but because you came back. I'm sorry I couldn't open the door myself. Love you, Ed." By the time I finished reading, my hands were trembling. My throat burned. I looked around the kitchen like it might answer the questions the letter didn't. What was he shielding me from? Where were they? And why did it feel like I was the last one to know? A sudden noise upstairs made me jump. A soft thump. Not loud. Not violent. Just enough to remind me the house wasn't entirely empty. I looked up at the ceiling. My reflection stared back from the dark window above the stairs. I stepped toward the hallway. And in that moment, standing in the heart of the house that built me and broke me, I realized something. I wasn't just here for answers. I wasn't just here for them. I was here for me. Because some ghosts don't go away until you turn the lights on. And I was done being afraid of the dark.